Okay. So again, good afternoon and welcome to the Open Lab Fiscal Reimbursements as we are moving into the updated transcendental space. So a little bit about our session format for today. You will be hearing from two of us. You will be hearing from Brenda Galarza, who is our Fiscal Data Integrity Analyst. AKA she knows all things fiscal at the Children's Trust. And she will be the one sharing not most, but all of the actual content because she knows it all. And then I am Tatiana Canelas, and I am one of the Associate Director of Programs here at the Children's Trust. As you probably saw when you registered, we capped the session at 60 participants. It's still a pretty big group, so we ask that you remain muted throughout the session. We will allow you to unmute if you have a comment or a question, or we need to clarify something that maybe you said in the chat regarding a question. We are going to be using the chat. I see some of you saying good morning on there, so that you can drop any questions on there throughout the session. Hopefully, you know, if we're going through something and it triggers a question, you're able to just drop it in there. If you see that we don't respond right away, it's not that we're ignoring your question at all. It's that either we'll stop somewhere and answer it along the way, or we know that the answer is coming. But please feel free to use the chat to drop any questions that you have. We hope that this session is one where you feel comfortable to say, hey, you just showed something, can you go back to it, or what does it mean? Or even if it's to ask, you know, the why, make it a space that you leave here hopefully having an understanding of what the enhancements are. So use that chat functionality. So this is what our session will look like. And then as far as the agenda, we will be going through enhancements in Trust-Central as they relate to reimbursements, as well as some agency staff assignment enhancements, some cool new features around rejections. We'll talk a little bit about workflow templates, and then we'll also share with you some troubleshooting supports that we have put in place in case you run into any challenges or issues, which we hope you don't, but we know that there's always a possibility. So our objectives for today, I kind of already alluded to them, but they are to understand the updates and enhancements as they relate to reimbursements. Reimbursements is really the key word. We know that across the fiscal space, there could be other fiscal documents that we discussed, such as budgets and budget modifications and amendments. The session today is specifically around reimbursements. We will have other sessions, other communication around enhancements as they relate to maybe budgets or modifications and amendments. But this session specifically is to get you to understand the reimbursement enhancement. I've said that word too many times in the last 2 days. And then also to understand, again, agency staff setup as it relates to moving your reimbursements forward, understand how to see important communication related to reimbursement. And then we also want to communicate with you all workflow template updates. As you can see, the goal of today in this hour-and-a-half session is for you all to have an understanding of the enhancements. We by no means think that you will master every single piece that we communicate with you today. We know that this is just one session. We know that usually once you actually start getting in and doing the work is where some questions might come up, and that's why we'll talk about troubleshooting a little bit more at the end. But we do want you to leave with having an understanding of the enhancements as well as the resources that will support you along the way. And so that's why we have that word understanding, not mastering. It's okay if you leave here and you still have some questions and then you say, let me just get to doing a reimbursement and then I'll reach out. But again, do feel free to ask any questions along the way. So in the chat, I'm going to ask, well, I'm going to ask the question and then you can drop your response in the chat. This is just to get a feel for who's in the room. How many of you have already gone into Trust Central? We know that you were locked out for 5 business days. Again, because we were doing some, well, not we, the data and IT people that know how to do that stuff were doing some magical stuff, getting us into this enhanced space. And so we were internally locked out, as well as the other providers were locked out for a couple of days. Have any of you gone in there already into this new Trust Central enhanced space? You can just drop a quick yes or no in the chat. Again, this is just to know who's in the room. It's not a prerequisite to being here. We won't kick you out of the session if you say no. Okay. All right, so based on what I'm seeing so far, there is a mix of yeses and nos, so that's helpful to us. Again, it wasn't a prerequisite, it just helps Brenda know as she's going through the training, how much maybe you have seen or haven't seen. A lot of it you will see when you have actually created your reimbursement. The good news is that we have set up the session in a way that you will be able to have a demo before you even have to go into the space. So if you have gone in, one of the things that you notice is that you no longer see SAMIS as a module. Hopefully this did not catch you as surprised. We communicated it in our special provider meeting and in some other communication. So it's not broken. Trust Central is not broken. It was intentional that you did not see SAMIS any longer. You will now see either one of the modules on the screen, which is Fiscal or Participants, or you might see both. The reason that you might see just one or the other, it's depending on your role at your organization. I believe that most of you, when you registered here, you said that you did some work around Fiscal, so you will most likely see the Fiscal module, but some of you might also do some work around Participants, data entry, the fun stuff, right? But if you don't see the one or the other, it really does depend on your role. But it's not an error that you don't see SAMIS, it's intentional that you see both. Now, with that being said, as for the training, I do want to say before we really kick off is that you will not hear anything that will completely revamp the way that you have done things before or the business rules around reimbursements with the Children's Trust. So that's good. You don't have to unlearn and learn a complete new system. What we're really here to do is to share with you some enhancements that have been put in place as we're moving into this new space. So you can breathe a sigh of relief if you thought you were going to come in and have to completely onboard on how to do reimbursements at the trust. That is not the case. Mostly everything, especially business rules, have stayed the same. It's really just some enhancements that have come along the way. So before I kick it off to Brenda, who will actually do the content and share with you all these cool new things, I want to share with you a little bit of how the session will go. So we are going to do a walkthrough of the reimbursement guide. The guide has been updated. Most of you will probably be familiar with the guide once you see it projected on the screen. What we've done is we've just gone in and updated so that it reflects the enhancements. Again, we want you to leave the session with an actual resource that you can use and go back to, because we know that Brenda will go through screens, click, say that this is new, but you might get most of it, but you might forget some bits and pieces here. So this guide will serve as a resource to go back to. And then she will also walk you through the actual video so that you can see what the screens actually look like at this point in time. So we will do a walkthrough of those 2 items and then some additional videos again so that you can see what are the enhancements. We are recording the session, post all of our sessions, which end today. We're going to post a website. We're going to post a recording of one of the sessions. And then we'll also post the video that the reimbursement video that Brenda is going to share now. So I will hand it over to Brenda so that she can actually walk you through and share some of these new items.
So good morning, everyone, and we are very excited for this deployment of the new fiscal model. I hope that as you start seeing all the enhancements, you start enjoying the new fiscal and all the features that the model has for you to use. As mentioned before, today we will going over the enhancements around reimbursements. First, we want to mention that the business process and rules has not changed. Budget guidelines continue as the resource available to you, and we will be releasing a couple of guides related to reimbursement in the fiscal module pretty soon. So let's go over the reimbursement guide and let's identify some of the changes that you will find in the fiscal module. To begin with, we have some fields that have the name has changed. For example, notes in now it's known as note activity log. This area continues as the place where users and add comments to clarify or communicate something related to the expenses included in the reimbursement, similar to SAMIS 2. Audit trail, now it's known as workflow log. This area continues as the place where approval process is recorded. Now it will be also the place where you can find the rejection comments if your reimbursement is rejected. The document repository now is known as file. In the new fiscal module, the user will be able to add files directly from the fiscal document. So let's go, the next pages of the reimbursement guide will show you how step by step how to create and edit a reimbursement. And let's go over to the new reimbursement screen. At the top, you will find action buttons that include the delete icon. And this icon is only visible for those that are assigned to as the creator, users assigned as the creator. Remember that the creator is the only person who can create, edit, or delete a fiscal document. Next, we have summary. This is an icon that if you are not in this page, every time that you click on summary will take you to this main reimbursement screen. For forward, reject, or approve buttons, those are action buttons that depend on the workflow role that the user that is editing or reviewing the reimbursement is assigned to. So depending on your role, those are the options that you will have as the action buttons: forward, reject, or approve. Following, we have the advance and adjustment. This button allow you to apply expenses to repaid advance if you have an advance amount. Add note, continue as the place where the users in the approval workflow communicate some important information related to the reimbursement. All notes are recorded in the notes activity log. Files is the button that you will use to upload any files such as the Form D or any other supporting documentation that might be required for your reimbursement. We have two new buttons. We have a related fiscal document. This is a new feature that I hope that you enjoy, that you like. The new feature allow you to navigate through different fiscal documents associated to your program from the reimbursement screen. So if you want to see the budget, if you want to see the prior invoice, you can, or the amendment, you can use this button to navigate through those documents. And then we have reports, which allow you to run the PDF reports associated to the document that you are in. So if you are working in a reimbursement, and you will be able to run the report related to reimbursements. Below that section, we have totals and balances. This section display the summary of the amounts included in your reimbursement. Also include the year-to-date amounts, include also the advanced balances, if applicable. And to the right side of the screen, you will see a visual that show you the budget usage. Below that section, we continue with the salary and expense accounts. Those are used to display the amount requested and the balances by line item. Now, if you look at the screen to the right side of the screen, you will find a visual that displays the spent amount by line item. Also, you will notice in the reimbursement request column, you will notice some arrows. Some are greens, others are reds. It doesn't mean anything bad. The arrows compare the amount included in the current reimbursement with a prior reported amount. For example, if the arrow is red, it can be an indicator that the expense that is being included in your current reimbursement, it maybe something is missing. If you compare that with the amount that was previously reported. Remember, it's just an indicator, it could be perfectly normal. It's just an indicator. Then below that section, we have budget usage section. This displays some visuals about the budget usage. You have an overall contract, and you have for salaries and expense account. The guideline also met everything that I have described to you related to the action buttons are explained at the bottom part of this visual, of this picture. So continuing with the budget rules, it show you the business rules. As we mentioned before, the business rules has not changed. The only changes that you may find, it's when you are entering salaries, we have a new feature. This feature allow you to filter position expense section by any column. So if you want to enter your data and filter just by a specific position to enter the data related to salary, you can filter that section now. Now, the next change that you will notice is that we are referencing to, instead of using check number, now we are referencing transaction ID. This is to include other method of payment, such as electronic transactions. So it's just to reference not only to check, but other electronic transaction method of payments. When it comes to salaries account, we have two new fields in the check run section. We have pay period start date and end date. The start date and end date of a payroll check run section relates to the beginning and end date of the pay period that is being reported. The check run date refers to the actual date of the check. For example, the pay period that runs from December 5th through December 16th was paid on December 23rd. So in your start date, you will enter the December 5th, and your end date will be December 16th, and in the check run date will be December 23rd. In SAMIS, we used to have just one field and everything was entered. Now everything has their own space to be entered. The To populate these fields, you can use the calendar features that will be available when you are populating the field. When it comes to expense accounts, as we mentioned, we continue referencing to transaction ID, but now we have a new field, notes. Notes, it's a field that can be used to provide additional information related to the transaction if needed. In the past, when a brief description of the expense reported, the transaction that was reported was needed, it was entered as part of the vendor name. So now we have a specific field just to capture that brief description that help us to understand the expenditures that you are reporting. This field is not required for all transactions, only if it's needed. If you have a question, always refer to the fiscal reimbursement guide for that help you how to record the expenses. Then we will continue with the guide, and you find a section for advances and adjustment. Advances and adjustment is being used when you have an amount, an advance that has been an amount that has been advanced to you, and you want to repay that advance using your expenditures. It was simple, just press advance adjustment and enter the amount that you want to use to repay that advance and save. Once you hit save, the system will update all the balances, and the summary page will display the new balance related to advances. Adding files. Now, if you need to add a file, you can use the file button, the action button, and the system will require you to identify the file that you want to upload. Remember, this is to can be used to upload your Form D if applicable, or your any supporting documentation if applicable as well. And let's go and see one of the videos so you can see how everything that we explained to you, it's looking in the system. Of course, to create a fiscal document, you will need to use the fiscal, select the fiscal module. Once you select the fiscal module, the system will go to a dashboard where you can go to fiscal document, select new fiscal document, enter the fiscal period, which is your contract period, select the agency, select reimbursement from the document type, and enter the billing period that you want to report. And select create. That's the same process, similar process as we used to have in SAMIS 2. And the reimbursement has been created. So let's go and modify the regular salary. You select, you need to select regular salaries and select the position that you want to enter the expenses. You will continue entering all your expenses. And the fringe benefits, you can use the appropriate column to enter the expenses. Then once you are done with entering all your expenses, we have a section for payment. This section is to enter the information related to payments that support the expenses that are being reported in the position expense section. You can add multiple payments. And you can, if you enter a record that you don't want to enter, you can use the delete button to delete the record. Below that section, we have the check run, payroll check run section. This is where the two new fields are, the start date and end date. And you can see you can use the calendar feature to populate these fields. Once you're done, you can go back to save your expenses and return to summary. In this case, you will notice a red area that is giving you a validation. It's a message. Pay attention to those validation. In this case, when I enter the expenses, I enter an expense for life, health, and health insurance. However, I did not enter the payment information that support that expense. To make that correction, you just need to go to the account, regular, in this case was regular salaries. Go back to your screen and enter the information. As you noticed, I'm showing that I have an expense for insurance. We just need to enter the payment that support that expense. Once the changes are made, you can go save and return to summary. Now, you will notice, like I mentioned, the arrows in the reimbursement request. Remember, those arrows are simple and an indicator on how the expenses that have been included in this reimbursement, if they are greater or less than the prior month. When it comes to expenses, we just add a payment. Remember that we have a transaction number to refer now to not only to checks, but also to other electronic payments. We have also the note field that you can enter the information, a brief description of the transaction. If you notice in the bottom part of this screen, you will notice that a section. Can you stop there? Yeah. You will notice a section that, thank you, Tatiana. You will notice a section that show you all the, for this line item, show you the budget, the amount that was budgeted for this line item, as well the expenses that have been reported through other prior invoices. You can use the link to navigate to those documents if you want to see the details of the amount that was reported. That's one of the new features of the fiscal model. Also, when you go to, after doing that, you can select, go back to the summary or go to a different account. And once you complete your reimbursement and entering all your expenses, you can always go to reports to see all your reports available for reimbursements using the report button. Remember the related fiscal document, you can also use it to navigate to other fiscal documents. Any question? This is how you create the reimbursement, how you can edit the salaries, and how you can edit the expenses, other operating expenses accounts. Any question on how to create or modify your reimbursement?
Hi, Brenda, I have a question.
Sure. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
With this upgrade in SAMIS, the system don't alerts when we are entering the check number twice, for example, or the day is entering in the wrong way or something like that?
There's a validation that it's in place. Are you already using the system?
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, there's a validation that you will see. There's a couple of validation that help you to deal with those expenses that you might be reporting twice. For now, those are they will be in place. If you experience any issues, just let us know. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Mhm. Any other question related to?
Not seeing any questions on the chat.
Okay, so let's go to agency staff. Now staff will be supporting the staff that will be supporting any of the funded positions are managed in a specific page. We have a new page called staff page. Important about staff is that the staff must be created before it can be assigned to a position. If you need to create a new staff, just go to staff page and enter the required field. As a clarification, all your information has been migrated from SAMIS to fiscal model. So there's no need for you to create right now any new staff unless you have a new staff that you need to create in the system. Okay, so let's go and see how you can add a new staff to the system. So select a staff and the system will show you all the positions, all the staff that you have in the system. If there's not, if it's a new one, just select create a new one. And as I mentioned before, only 3 fields are needed, required: agency, first name, and last name. The same fields that were required in SAMS. Once you complete that, select save and the record will be created. Important here, the system has a validation that will help you the system do a validation that says you are trying to create a new staff that have a similar name that of 2 other staff that exist in the system. Is this one of the one that you want to edit or you want to create a new record? So if you decide, no, I'm trying to create a new one, it's not related to any of this stuff, let's create a new one. You create a new one, okay? Once you create a new one, the system create a new profile for that staff, and the staff will be available to be assigned in a staff assignment in a position, okay? So let's go and check how we assign that new staff to a position. So positions continue as a module. Select position. The system will display the list of all your positions. Then select the position that you want to add that new staff. Select modified assignment. Then in this case, we have John Doe. Let's say that John Doe won the lotto and it's no longer in this position. And let's enter terminate John Doe and add a staff assignment to add our new staff. You can notice that since we create the new staff, and the staff is available in the drop down, and you will be able to save the staff assignment. Now the staff assignment has been updated, and it shows both of them, all the staff that has been assigned to this position is in this program. For those that are has multiple program with us, this feature will help you a lot. If you select your staff from the position, you can go, the system will take you to the staff profile and will display the profile. Now will display the staff where this staff is being assigned to. So it will display all the programs and contracts that that staff is associated to. So this is what we have for rejection, for staff assignments. Any question about a staff assignment and updating positions?
Brenda, we have a question in the chat from Scarlett. Is the last check run date mandatory to put?
The system will automatically populate it to you based on the date that you entered as an end date, but you can modify it.
I have a question. Concerning the payroll, you know, there's always a timing difference. So we have to, this is a question for you. Do we have to change the payroll after we submit if there's a change? Like if somebody leaves the program after the due, like between the due date, right? So after the end of the billing period, but before the reimbursement is due, do we change the person after we submit the invoice?
You should be submitting, you should be updating your staff assignment as they occur. If you
Okay.
have a change in your staff assignment, now this field that it says the last payroll, and that's payday, that's the one that you may want to modify so the name can be visible in your reimbursement.
No, what I'm saying is, okay, see like the payroll, the reimbursement is due on the 15th, right? Just suppose the person leaves on the 5th, but that is the person we're using for that reimbursement because they were there to the end of the month, right?
Yeah.
If we change that person before the 15th, wouldn't that person show up, the next person? Or would the prior person show up? How would it work?
It should show up.
Which one?
The last person, it will, the system will display the one that is active, and also consider the billing period. If your billing period is from the January 1st through January 31st, and your staff, one of the staff ended at January 15, and the other one ended in started in January 16, both will be displayed in your reimbursement because they are
right
both active during the billing period that you are submitting.
Okay, so yeah, that one I get, but if the person left on the 5th and you're billing for the prior period, right? So you're saying that person that ended on the 31st is still going to show up, although you change that person on the 5th? It's still going to be effective on the 15th when you do the billing?
It should.
Okay, okay.
Any other question related to staff assignment? Okay, so let's go to rejections. If your document is rejected, now the user that is rejecting the document can add comment to the items that it's been rejected. All comments will be visible on screen, and also all comments are recorded in the workflow log. Remember that the workflow log is located at the top of the reimbursement screen in the action buttons, okay? So let's see how a reimbursement, what I'm referring to, rejections comment on that. So how this look like. So the person who reject the document to you will select a rejection reason, and also now has the ability to identify and enter the comments based on what is in your budget. So in your reimbursement. So the user can identify those items and add a column, a comment that can help you to that will describe what needs to be done within the reimbursement. Once the user enter all the comments, the invoice will be rejected, and how you will see the invoice. This is all those comments. When you go to your line items, will be highlighted, and when you hover over the line item, you will see the comments. For positions, you will go to regular salaries and see all the positions that maybe you have to make some modifications. Those comments are also, like I mentioned before, all those comments are recorded in the workflow log. And this is how the system will record them, okay? Once you modify your invoice, you can forward the invoice, and the highlighted areas will be no longer visible and no longer highlighted after the reimbursement is approved, okay? Any
Oh, we have a question in the chat. From Natalie, will we still receive the rejection email from Trust Central, or will we need to monitor the Trust Central fiscal portal?
No, you will continue using, you will still continue receiving the rejection email from Trust Central. The same notification whether the reimbursement has been approved or rejected. Workflow templates. Let's go to, there's a couple of things that we want to mention here about workflows. Trust Central Fiscal module continue using workflows to approve fiscal documents. The same workflow roles that were in SAMIS, creator, reviewers, and submitters, continue being used in the fiscal module. Workflows are entirely based on templates, and templates are created at the agency level. Because the workflow templates are created at the agency level, they can be used in multiple programs from your organization, or they can be used in different documents from your program. Okay, all templates has been created in Fiscal. There's nothing that you need to do at this point related to templates, unless you need to modify your workflow, approval workflow. Please keep in mind that if the workflow template is updated, changes will be also updated everywhere the template is used. If you need to modify a workflow template, please contact your program manager before making any change. As a general rule, only create a new template when none of the existing templates should be modified, because maybe the approval workflow only applied to a particular fiscal document or to a particular program. We will be providing more guides and information related to workflows in the upcoming weeks. But for now, you don't need to do anything related to workflows unless you need to modify. And if you need to modify, remember to contact your program manager. So let's see how the workflow look like. Workflows, you can have their own page, and the system will show you the program workflows. If you want to create a new template, workflows, it will tell you, show you all the workflow templates and the detail of those workflows. If you want to see your program workflow, select program workflow. It will show you all the programs that are associated to your organization. Select view, and this is how a workflow look like. If you see this, we have different documents. We have amendment, budget, and reimbursement. Those fiscal documents are using the template that we call My Sunny Training Agency for this training. And what is in My Sunny Training Agency? I have a creator and I have a submitter. So that combination, it's called a template, and that template can be used in multiple fiscal documents as well in other programs from your organization. So when we are just keep in mind that if we modify the template everywhere that we use the same template, the changes will be updated as well. Okay. Any question related to workflows and approval workflows?
Brenda, me again. I don't see the subrogate tab there. Is somewhere else or?
Okay, surrogates are no longer a functionality. We will, since we are using template, and that it's something new that we want to share with you, is that now workflows allow multiple users in the same role. That doesn't mean that adding multiple users will require the approval of everybody in the same role. Tatiana, can you go back to and show the workflow screen, please? That means that if you have multiple users in the same workflow role, one of them can perform, all of them can perform the action. However, one of the action, you will create the reimbursement one time, and you will submit a document one time. So any of the users that are added to a workflow role can perform the action, but the action can be performed one time. Okay, so in this case, if I'm gonna I have two users in my creator, one of a creator level or role. One of them will be able to create the document, but one of them should be moving the document, can move the document to the next reviewer. So that's how you will do surrogates. As if you add multiple users to the same level, you will be able to assign any of them can serve as a surrogate, can do the action.
Okay.
Good. So as I mentioned before, that's a functionality that keep in mind that if you if you modify your template as it's now, you everywhere that template it's being used will be updated. So if the changes that you want to make does only apply to one document or to one program, it's better to create a new template instead of modifying the existing one. Okay.
So for add additional user, I have to talk or get approval for a contract manager, or we just
No, it's just we will guide you to we recognize that this is a step that we may want to provide you direct assistance on how to, whether you need to modify it or create a new template, and how you can all the step-by-step that you may want to follow. So we just asking you to contact your program manager so we can help you better, assist you better.
Thank you, Brenda.
Oh, you're welcome. So if we don't have any other question related to workflow, Tatiana, I will get back to you. I will. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Brenda. So as Brenda has mentioned, there are a few new enhancements to the system, and we recognize that this is, again, one open lab where we are sharing multiple new enhancements along the way. So we anticipate that once you start actually doing the work, let's say that Raul needs to create a new workflow template, or that somebody needs to submit the reimbursement, after you've maybe gone through the reimbursement guide or you've gone through the video, you still have some questions. We know that you might need some support troubleshooting. So what we are saying and asking is that you reach out to your program manager directly instead of creating a help desk ticket. Our help desk tickets are for more technical issues, and what we anticipate is that some of the questions that might come in might not necessarily be technical issues or challenges. They might be more a question or a clarification. And so that's why what we ask is that you email your program manager directly, and then from there internally, if we identify that it is a technical challenge that is happening in the system is giving you a big red message and it's saying you can submit and every step is being followed, then from there, your program manager will be able to create a help desk ticket and send it directly on your behalf. Again, this is to alleviate and to kind of support you along the way in understanding this is not really an issue. This is more, it's no longer called document repository. Now it's called files. So the document repository section is not being hidden from you. It's just that now you have to click on files. So we do anticipate some of those kind of clarifications needing to come in. And so that's why our ask is, if you think you're running into an issue, if you're unsure how to move forward, or you can't find a button, email your program manager directly. And then from there, internally, we're creating some supports to be able to support the programs team as well as these questions are coming in. Because we know that this is new to you all, it's also new internally as well. And so we are creating some support systems as we continue to move through these trainings and sessions to be able to support you all along the way. So that is the ask. if you were to create a help desk ticket, what's going to happen is it's going to be rerouted to the program manager anyway. So that's what we're saying. Just email them directly and we will figure out what's the best way to move forward to make sure that you get a response as quickly as possible. Now, if you find yourself needing to troubleshoot with your program manager, what we're asking is that you include either a screenshot or a video in your message to your program manager. That just makes it a lot easier to identify what could possibly be the issue that's happening and where it's happening. And also a brief description of what you're trying to do. We know that sometimes a screenshot doesn't tell the full story. So saying I'm trying to upload a file and it's not letting me, or I'm trying to add the payroll dates and it's not allowing me. And so just a brief description of what's happening to go along with your screenshot is always helpful. And then the other piece is we know that you all wear many hats and that sometimes it might not be you running into the issue, but you're submitting something on behalf of maybe another peer in your agency. Let us know who is really running into the issue. What we have identified at times is that it's a user access challenge. And so knowing who the user is kind of like our step one in trying to figure out what could possibly be happening. So I think if you email your program manager and you include all these three things, it will be really helpful in helping you troubleshoot. So I think that that is all for us now. It seems that we still have a couple of minutes. We can open it up for questions, comments, anything that you might be maybe considering that it's a question. We want the space to be a place where you can ask. I also know that some of the questions will come in as you are actually getting into the system and doing the work. And so after the session, we're going to send you the reimbursement guide. And then after all of our sessions are done, which they end today, we're going to post on our website the reimbursement guide, a recording of one of the sessions, as well as the video that Brenda showed you, so that you also have those resources as you're doing this work. So I'm going to pause here. I do see a question from Christina regarding, do we resume entering participant attendance on daily basis? So Christina, when it comes to participants module, those open labs will not happen until January. So we will not be having, we have made the, we have put the guidance out that you can hold on entering participant data in December, and that will resume after the open labs occur. Because we know that, again, there's some new enhancements along the way and that we need to show you and kind of train you on. So no, you do not need to enter your participant attendance right now. What's going to happen is that we're going to have the open labs in mid-January, and then you will have until January 31, after you've attended one of the sessions, to submit your any November data that you didn't enter and your December data as well.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is something that I discussed with my CM over a period of time, but when we have a rejection, sometimes it's rejected for something very basic, like a date or something, or just an explanation, and it goes back through the same channel, right? Where each person has 3 days, so it's 6 days before we get the contract approved. So she was saying that it would be great if there was a feature where when it's a resubmission, that it just goes right to the party, notifying them that this is a resubmission. It's something quick. Is that something that was changed, or is it still the same 6-day process?
It's still the same process. There's no change in the system for that right now. It's just a business process. Still.
Okay.
Mhm.
Maybe we could look into that for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your suggestion.
Okay. If there's no other questions, you can log off. Again, we're giving you some time. If you want to hang back and a question just came up, please feel free to do so. I'll leave the room open for a couple of more minutes to see if there's any other questions that come up. But if not, thank you so much for attending our session. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us and we will try our best to get back to you as soon as possible. And be on the lookout for a follow-up email coming in a couple of minutes with the reimbursement guide, as well as a quick survey, so you can help us make these sessions better along the way. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Is Teddy still on? I see a question. Do these enhancements render SAMIS obsolete for day-to-day tasks unless you are entering a new position? Teddy, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Hi, Teddy.
Hi, yeah, I missed a point in the beginning of the presentation about how SAMIS is no longer going to have a portal or a tab on the main page, and that you're instead going to be using the fiscal or participants tabs for day-to-day reimbursements and everything.